Gives me great pleasure to introduce you to a gentleman I've had a conversation with this morning, and I hope to have on the air with me in the new year with some of the initiatives that we talked about. In 2014, John Robinson was named one of 10 national White House Champions of Change for Disability Employment. And he was honored with the Excelsior College President's Award for Advocacy in 2010. And the year after, since then, he has served as managing partner, CEO, and founder of Our Ability, which provides inclusive workforce and employment consulting, mentoring, workshops, keynotes, and seminars on disability and diversity. His company, Our Ability, their clients include Cargill, Microsoft, Bank of America, Aflac, Price Chopper, and John also additionally founded Our Ability Connect, and that is the only online platform where employers can directly connect with qualified candidates who have different abilities by searching a digital profile service, posting employment opportunities, and also hosting virtual job fairs. As executive director of the New York Business Leadership Network, he builds coalitions among New York State businesses interested in both hiring and building supplier diversity of businesses owned by individuals with disabilities. John was the subject of Get Off Your Knees, the John Robinson story. It's a television documentary. And also, Get Off Your Knees, a story of faith, courage, and determination. That was an autobiography published in 2009. He wanted me to exclude all that, but I think that's really cool and really important. You're going to love him. So, ladies and gentlemen, our morning keynote speaker, John Robinson.
Good morning. No. Wake up. Good morning. Good morning. There we go. In the bio it says 2014 White House Champion of Change. I just need to say something and clarify. It was the past White House administration. And I tell you that I have family here in Ontario, and so I would come up here all the time, and I would laugh at you guys from Rob Ford, like literally I would laugh. When you guys get the last laugh now. It's good stuff. There's nothing worse than hearing your bio read. I mean, I am proud of what we've accomplished. I'm proud of what we're doing in this room today. What you're doing with Join is very important. And so I thank you for your support. I thank you for your support for just being here, for your support of employing people with disabilities in general. I thank you for that. I'm going to challenge you to do more, certainly as you move forward, but you know, we should take a step back and realize why we're here and how important it is. And so, as a person with a disability, I thank you for that, and can't say that enough. So there you go. We're going to talk for a little while here. I know that we got a little bit late start. I still will give you a break before your next event, but I do want to talk. I want to share some stories about my life and get to know you a little bit, and then hopefully leave time for one or two questions. And I'll stay through the break as well if anybody has a private question. I want to ask you all a question first before we begin, and ask you to raise your hand. How many of you looked in the mirror before you left your house this morning? Most of you. Some of you are laughing already. All right, most of you looked in the mirror, right? Right before you left the house, you looked in the mirror. What was it that you were looking for when you looked in the mirror this morning? Shout it out. What was it? Good hair. Good hair day. Excellent. Hair looks great. Good hair. I was going to say, you only all look at your hair? Really? Lipstick on the teeth? Food on your shirt? Good shave. Shave? Clothes? Do you look for your clothes to make sure they match? Right. What is it you're really doing right before you leave the house or right before you get out of the car, before you start your work day? What is it you're really doing when you do that? You know, you're looking for what's wrong with you, aren't you? Right before you start your day, right before you get out and go out in the general community, You take one last look at your clothes, your hair, your teeth, or whatever it is, and you're really asking what's wrong with me today, aren't you? But if you ask your best friend, your significant other, your mate, whomever, how do I look today? What is it they're going to say? Great. I heard somebody say it. Awesome. Unless they're really obnoxious, they're going to say you look great. Why is it that your best friend or your spouse or your mate says you look great when you're criticizing yourself in the mirror? Why is it? Shout it out. Wow, that's right off the bat. Usually takes me like 5 answers before I get them all. Leave it to a TV person to bring out love right off the bat. Your best friend, your mate, your significant other, they love you no matter whether there's toothpaste on your teeth, whether your hair's out of place. No matter what it is. And imagine that for a minute. What could you do if you started your day and you thought about what my best friend sees? Would that change your day as you move forward? Would that change your mindset? Instead of seeing what's wrong with myself, you see what's right with yourself, and then you go about your day? Wouldn't that dramatically impact you? I think it would. Why am I asking this? Because for the longest time, I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. I was uncomfortable with how I looked, what I projected, who I was. I worked in television for 16 years. I could not look at myself on video. I went into the sales, the business side of it, just because I couldn't look at myself. But through a series of conversations with best friends, with significant others, you realize, you know what? I have something to say, I have something to offer. And I'm damn lucky to be here. And that's the challenge that we all have to face. Tomorrow morning, Wednesday morning, when you get up and you go to work and you go about your day, I want you to take a look at the toothpaste. I want you to make sure that you shave. And then I want you to say, what does my best friend like about me? And then start your day. Because it can make a dramatic impact on you. And those conversations with my friends have made a dramatic impact on me, and I wouldn't trade that for anything. So I want to share some of those conversations with you. I want to share some stories about living as a person with a disability, and then again, like I said at the end, I'll leave a question or two at the end. Before I do any of that, I want to sort of take a step back. Like I said, there's nothing worse than having your bio read, but I want to explain a little bit about who I am. My name is John Robinson. I did live here in Ontario some 25 years ago. Before that, I graduated Syracuse University. I studied television, radio, film at Syracuse University, and all I ever wanted to do growing up was to run a television station. All I ever wanted to do. I would sit at home in high school and I would watch TV and listen to the radio. I really want to know about the inner workings of television. See, I'm actually watching the camera person right now, wondering what's wrong with the audio. They're all worried about the audio. So then, you can take the boy out of the TV station, but you can't take the TV station out of the boy.
What we did you said that?
Is that better? Oh, it is better. Excellent. Give me a thumbs up. Tell you what, you're going to take care of the camera, people. They can make you look good or bad, or sound good or bad. All I ever wanted to do was to do that, honestly. That's all I ever wanted. So I went to Syracuse University, one of the best communication schools in the United States. I had a great GPA. I ended up with a 3.4 grade point average. I had a great internship at the TV station in Boston the summer before I graduated. I had references. I lived with 3 other guys that also went through the same program that I did. We became best friends in life. One of them worked for the Ann Arbor newspaper in Michigan, and now is an assistant district attorney for the United States government. Another one went to work for Golf Magazine and now works for Golf Channel in Orlando, Florida, and does some work with the PGA. The 4th of us works for National Football League. He actually runs National Football League films. So if you watch any video of the NFL, you see his work, the people that work for him. And then there was me. I graduated in 1990 with all that behind me. And I heard the word no for 4.5 years. 4.5 years, hundreds of resumes, thousands of help wanted ads, 25-second interviews in person, trying to get myself dressed, driving around the northeast of North America to hear the word no. From Chicago to Montreal, Washington, D.C., Boston, New York, and all points in between, I would scramble to get a tie on, and I would come meet you for the second interview and hear the word no. You're underqualified, you're overqualified, you've taken too long out of college. And what were they really saying? They didn't like how I looked. You see, I didn't look the part. I didn't wear the three-piece suit. I wasn't 6 feet tall. I didn't look like the part of somebody that was going to sell advertising. 1994, 4.5 years later, December 1994, I finally get a job opportunity, ironically right back in Syracuse, New York, where I went to college. The local sales manager had interviewed me twice. I was being called in for a third interview. And I got called into the third interview and I thought maybe I had a chance this time. And the local sales manager started out by saying, "John, my boss does not want me to hire you." See, he doesn't know how he's going to fire you when it doesn't work out. But I agreed to a deal. He said, "I can hire you, but I cannot give you a salary, I cannot give you benefits, and I cannot give you a sales territory. But we do want you to sell advertising. We'll print you business cards. Will you take the job?" Yeah, I took that job. I took that job in December of 1994. I had $17,000 in new business advertising sales on that TV station. At the end of my first full year, I was the #1 new business salesperson, not only for that station, but the 9 other stations they owned around the country. I knew this because there was a sales contest that the #1 person was going to take their +1 to Key West, Florida, because they would win a contest. And I knew I was right there, #1, #2, #1, #2. January 1996, the very first sales meeting, I knew I had finished #1, and I pretty much bounced into that sales meeting that morning and couldn't wait to be announced as the sales winner going off to Key West, Florida. And they announced that the #2 person was going to go to Key West, Florida, because they looked the part. Okay? I know how this works, but I didn't give up. I worked at that TV station for 5 years, and when I resigned, I was their youngest salesperson still, their longest tenure because everybody else left, including the sales managers, and I was the highest paid employee at that TV station because of the commission I made. But you know what? I wanted it, and I craved it, and I just needed an opportunity. So everything that we do with our ability is about creating opportunities for people with disabilities, all disability. Whether you're in the DD community, whether you have a physical disability, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Everybody just deserves an opportunity. That's why I applaud all of you in this room, because it's that important to me. So I graduated SU, I got the job. I am standing here as all of that. I'm also a business owner. I started Our Ability as a way to help corporate America, and in certain cases, corporate Ontario, build job opportunities for people with disabilities. So we're proud of that work. And so I left the TV industry to start Our Ability because it was that important to me to give back to somebody else. So I stand here as a business owner. I stand here as somebody that graduated university and has had a successful career. I also stand here, maybe more importantly than anything else, as a husband. I married Andrea some 24 years ago after meeting her nearly 28 years ago in this very city. I'm proud to share that with you because it's one of the first things you would wonder, but you wouldn't ask unless I brought it up. If you saw me walking on the street, you'd wonder, did he find somebody to share his life with? Andrea and I have been married for 24 years, and I'm proud of that. And I share that with you. We have 3 children. Hayden is 28 years old, so you can do the math of the 24-year-old marriage and figure that one out. I shouldn't have to describe that to you in more detail, but there you go. Hayden's 28, he's a good young man. He was hell to raise, but he has turned out to be a great young adult. He works out in Montana, he works with the national parks, he put out forest fires 8 months of the year. And so we could not be more proud of Hayden if we tried. It scares us to death what he does, jumping out of helicopters with chainsaws and starting fires to stop fires. It's unbelievable. We're proud of him. So Hayden's 28, we have a daughter, Ariel, who's 20. Ariel's a junior in college, her 3rd year of university in Boston. She is studying neurochemistry. I have no idea what that is, but God bless her. Ariel graduated 2.5 years ago from high school, and we could not be more happy. Ariel absolutely ruled our house with an iron fist, and it was torture. I mean, Ariel really was in charge of our household. She had to get out of our house. I mean, get out, go away. I love you dearly, out you go. Ariel's been back exactly 20 days in 2.5 years. She spent summers there, holidays there, and it's a perfect relationship. We see her 20 days out of 2.5 years, and that's just fine. I'm a little afraid of a little bit more. But she is also fiercely independent, and she's a great advocate for her community, and you know, I could not be more proud of my daughter. We also have a 14-year-old son, so due to 28, 20, and 14, we were not smart anywhere along the way. And quite frankly, we're tired. So Owen at 14 is raising himself right now, and that's just fine with me. Owen, don't hurt yourself, don't hurt anybody, whatever, dude. That's all you do. Owen is 14, he's in 9th grade. He plays hockey, so he skates 7 months a year all around the United States. We're very proud of him. He's also got some unique qualities about himself, too. My wife is very active. She's a marathon runner. She's a 46er, which means in New York State you climbed all 46 peaks over 4,000 feet. She's done all but 200 miles of the Appalachian Trail from Georgia to Maine. And so Owen, by his nature and being the third child, he had to be included. He had to follow mom along. So he was one of the youngest 46ers in the history of New York State at age 12. By age 12, he had done all 46 peaks. And he's done about half of what Avery has done in the Appalachian Trail from Georgia to Maine. And I could not be more proud of my family. And I share that with you because if you saw me, if you're going to ask the question, did he find somebody to share his life with, the next question will be, did he have children? And at the end of the day, that is what it's all about. That the job opportunity that I craved, the university that I went to get the job opportunity, was all about having a family. It was all about having the mortgage. It was all about having the 1.5 dogs and the white picket fence. It's all I ever wanted was that. And so that's why we do what we do with our ability and why you do what you do sitting in this room. I'm also, not only all of that stuff, I'm obviously a person with a profound disability. I think most of you can see me right now, but if you cannot see me, I'll explain it. I'm a quadruple congenital amputee. I was born in 1968 without the extension of my arms and my legs. My arms ended where your elbows are, so no elbow, no forearm, no hand, no wrist, no fingers. But I can tell you I'm lucky to have this body and I wouldn't trade it for anything. In the ends of my arms, I know what it would be like to have hands even though I don't. I am moving the muscles and the nerve endings that would have turned into hands. Maybe you can see that in the front row that I'm moving my arms. So in my mind, I don't ever go about life thinking, what would it be like to have hands? I know what it's like to point to you or make a fist or give the middle finger driving. I know what it's like. I'm very sorry, I'll do it over here. I know what it's like, and I do it all the time. When I'm driving around, I love to wave at people, and people think I'm waving, hi, I'm like, hi. They don't know what I'm doing. I can go do police out there. I would never do it. I know what it's like to have hands. I wouldn't trade that for anything. My legs are altogether different than yours. They're the lower part of your leg. So I have a foot facing forward. Thank goodness I can walk under my own power. I can't tell you how lucky I am to have that. There are quadruple amputees born with their feet facing backwards at birth, and then they're amputated. Okay? So I'm beyond lucky that I didn't have that happen. Ankle, lower part of my leg, but no knee, and no upper part. If you see an x-ray of yourself, you know that your hip, ball, and joint fit snugly together. Mine do not. There's no ball on the top of my leg. And so there's nothing really holding me together except a bunch of muscle. There's no hip, ball, and joint holding my legs together. That's created a very interesting dynamic. And the interesting dynamic is this, that the bone is actually moving up into my hip area very slowly every step I take, every movement I make. And so that when I was a freshman at university in 1986, meeting the best friends of my life, that when I was a freshman, I used to stand 3 feet 11 inches tall, or 9 3/4 Budweiser cans tall. And we tested it repeatedly to see if I would shrink. Amazing how far you shrink when you drink 9 3/4 beers. Now I stand 3 feet 9, or a little under that. So I've lost more than 2 inches in my height. We all lose some height over time. But a lot of the height that I've lost is because the bone in my leg area is just moving up. But you know what? I'm okay, and I'm blessed, and I'm lucky to be who I am. And I wouldn't trade that for anything. There were 3 people born with a disability in December of 1968 in a small city called Binghamton, New York. There was me, there was a boy with Down syndrome, and then there was a girl that died at birth. And that's how I was born. I was told that story. And I think I was told that story partially because my parents wanted me to understand how lucky I was. And I am lucky. I wouldn't trade that for anything. So I'm proud of who I am and what I do, and I'm proud of sharing some of these stories with you. I told you about that job at the TV station in Albany, or at Syracuse, where I worked for 5.5 years. I wanted to move on to a bigger city. I had been used to living here in Toronto some 6 years before that. I enjoyed it very much, but living in Syracuse, it's a much smaller city. I was starting to look for other job opportunities at a bigger television market. So I started to interview all over the Northeast again, and I finally got a job interview with a TV station in Albany, New York, the state capital. The city is about the same size, but it's a much bigger media market, so I got excited. And I interviewed with the sales manager in Albany, New York, and I was excited about the opportunity. We met 3 times, we met at a neutral location because the station didn't want the other salespeople to know that they were hiring from outside. We met 3 times. The station, this time, George didn't care what I looked like. He was actually happy that I was a little bit different, that I might bring something new to the TV station. Interviewed 3 times and decided to accept the job, and I moved to Albany in April of 2000. I moved there without ever going into that TV station. I walk into that TV station on a Monday morning, and this TV station, unlike the first one, is very welcoming on who I am. They put white borders in front of the reception area, and it says, "Welcome, John Robinson, we're proud to have you. Congratulations on the new opportunity. I feel this is going to be a great chance." And I walked to the receptionist, I said, "Can you please point me towards the sales office? Where is the sales office?" And she says, "Oh, great." She goes, "Welcome." She goes, "Just take a look down the hall. At the end of the hall, you'll see a stairwell, and your office is at the top of the stairs." I said, "Oh, great, thank you very much." I said, "Where's the elevator?" She says, "There's no elevator." You see, the station was built in an old liquor warehouse, she says. And she said they decided to put the business offices on top of the liquor warehouse, and so that they could look down onto the studio. And so your sales office is up above, okay? And I walk to the stairs, and I start climbing the stairs, and it's not 13 stairs to the second floor, it's 26 stairs, because they took the second floor out. So I climb up the 26 stairs, I get to the top of the stairs, I see the sales manager, and I ask him where my cubicle is, and he shows me around. He shows me and introduces me to some people, and he shows me where the photocopier machine is, where my desk is, and where the coffee maker is. And I like that because I like coffee, and I'm excited about this. I start to put 2 and 2 together with the coffee, and I said, "Where's the bathroom, by the way?" And he goes, "Oh, it's at the bottom of the stairs." Okay. So now I'm doing the math. This is 5 minutes into my new job. I'm parking downstairs. I'm going upstairs. I'm having my coffee upstairs. I'm coming downstairs to go to the bathroom. I'm making sales calls out of the building, and I'm coming back at the end of the day to go back up to the sales office. I just accepted the position. I just told Andrea and the kids that we're moving to Albany. I keep that position. That first day, I meet the other salespeople, and I'm thinking about all this physical accommodation stuff. I'm not thinking about the people that I'm meeting, but all of a sudden everybody's kind and they come up to my desk, and there's a man that comes up to my desk about 15 minutes later from everybody else, and come to find out his name is Bob. Bob always showed up to work 15 minutes late no matter what. Bob still works at that TV station some 17 years later. Bob absolutely still shows up to work 15 minutes late every day, I guarantee it. Bob does it because he likes to make a grand entrance. He wanted to be on Broadway growing up, I guarantee it. He would make the grand entrance and come around the cubicle and say good morning. And I heard that first day, I heard him start to say good morning to Mike, and good morning to Paul, and good morning to Jan, and good morning to Kathy. And all of a sudden he comes around the cubicle to say good morning to me because he knows I'm the new guy. And it was like a cartoon. All of a sudden around the cubicle comes a hand, and then a shoulder, and then a body, and then a face pops out after. And he sticks his hand out to shake hands in the morning. He goes, good morning. And then he takes a look at me and he goes, wow. And he pulls his hand back. And then he realizes maybe he shouldn't have done this. And then he works up the courage and he sticks his hand back out and he says, good morning. And he introduces himself as Bob. I say, good morning, Bob, and I grab his hand and I start to shake him up and down. We were like a cartoon. I'm shaking the bunny rabbit up and down. Every morning after that, Bob would come around and he'd say, good morning. How many of you have had a bad handshake in your life? Raise your hand. That was Bob. I mean, it was flat, it was cold, it was wet. I mean, it was gross. So Bob would come around, and he would put his hand out there diligently because he knew I wanted to do it, but he'd put it out there, and I would have to move him up and down every day. Finally, after a couple months, I said, Bob, come here, get your blank over here. Well, I said, get over here. Put your hand out and say good morning to me. He didn't know what he was doing. He put his hand out, and I said, Bob, I need to teach you something. I'm going to put my arm out, and I'm going to put it in the palm of your hand, Bob. But this time, when I do that, I want you to squeeze the end of my arm, just like you'd squeeze anybody's hand. And I'm going to take my other arm and embrace the back of your hand, and I'm not going to shake you up and down anymore. You're going to instigate the movement. You're going to lead this dance, Bob. Is that okay? He goes, I said, yes, that's absolutely okay. So he puts his hand out, and we shake hands for the first time, and he gets a big smile across his face. And he said, squeeze? I said, squeeze, Bob. Every morning he would come around and he would say good morning. He wouldn't call me John, he would say good morning, squeeze. And he would introduce me to some of his other clients that we worked on projects together. I would not be John Robinson from WNYT. I would be, hey, you need to squeeze my partner's hand. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. He would absolutely berate his clients to learn how to shake hands with me. Now, fundamentally, all of you figure it out, right? You either fist bump or you shake or whatever it is, or maybe you're nervous and you back off and you wave. I don't really care what it is. But somebody like Bob, I had to correct that. When Bob came up, running up the stairs, the 26 stairs to the sales office one day, he had a big smile on his face, and he said, John, I just met a new client, I wanted to tell you about it. I said, great, Bob. By the way, that's your job, to meet new clients. He goes, no, I met a new client. And I went into their office, and I put my hand out to shake hands, and they put their arm out to look just like yours. And I pulled my hand back. Then I realized what he said. I put my hand back there, and he put his arm in my hand, and we shook, and I squeezed. And he smiled, John. Thank you for teaching me that. You see, it's different. Each one of us is different. Every one of us is different. I have a different ability than anybody else. You have different abilities. The people with disabilities that we work with have an ability to do something. We just have to see it. We have to recognize it and be aware of it. And that's what this is about. At the end of the day, that's what our ability, that's what join, that's what this clicker is not about. There we go. That's what this is about. It's about seeing your life in a new light. If you remember one thing from my talk this morning, it's this. Is it an obstacle that you look at me different for the first time? Was it an obstacle for Bob to figure out how to shake hands with me? Or was it an opportunity for Bob to learn something new? I choose to look in the mirror every morning and see the opportunity that I have now, not the obstacle in front of me. And that's what this is about. Oftentimes in life, the opportunities that we get are from the challenges that we face. Oftentimes, the opportunities that we have in front of us are because of the challenges that we face. And we have to recognize that.
that if I walk in and want a job, I know I have the ability to do the job. If you work at a bank out there and somebody with a developmental disability wants a job, you know what? They've got the #1 quality. They want to work. That's what this is about. That's what my life has been about. Whether it be meeting Bob for the first time, whether it be meeting Andrea for the first time, whether it be meeting you for the first time. And that's fundamentally what this is about. I mentioned all these things, and I mentioned the obstacles that I've had to face in my life. I'll give you a couple other quick examples. I drive an orange pickup truck. I love my Toyota Tacoma pickup truck. I absolutely love it. I love watching you watch me get in and out of my pickup truck. You all do the same thing. Nobody wants to stare, but you're like off the corner of your eye, you're wondering how you're doing that. I've been driving since I was 17 years old, and I absolutely love it. I love training new salespeople, get them in the truck, and make them hold on to the dashboard for dear life if I take them to a client. Don't think I don't enjoy that. I do. Have some fun with it. Stop at a stoplight, unroll the windows, and stick out my arms. Look, no hands! You'd be surprised at how fast other drivers get away from me. You wouldn't. Driving was a great opportunity. It allowed me a chance to be independent. It allowed me a chance to go get that first job and to go to university, and that was what's so very important. Dressing, as I stand here right now, it takes me 30 minutes in the morning to get dressed every day. Figuring out how I'm going to tuck the shirt in, how I'm going to do up the buttons. If I'm wearing a necktie, it's 45 minutes every day. So see, when I was rejected those 25-second interviews, that was trying to figure out putting my tie on 25 times for a second interview, just so that I could show I can do the job. And that's what this is all about. I don't dwell on things that I can't do very often, but I do want to share one thing with you, and that is riding a bicycle. You all remember the first time you rode a bicycle. I'm sure you know where you were. Hopefully it was with a loving parent that's hoping you succeed. Maybe not. Some of you it's with an older brother or sister wanting you to crash and get that. For me, though, it was one of those things I never had a chance to do. I can tell you where I was when my sister learned to ride a bike. I can tell you where I was when all 3 of our kids learned to ride a bike. I always wanted to learn. I had the chance to go to an adaptive sport organization in New York. I was invited to do a speech for them and then to see some of their sit skis. And so I got a chance to go to see their equipment. I wanted to go see the equipment, but I had no intention of getting on the ski hill, so that's just not an interest of mine. So I was very kind, and I went to see the sit skis, and they took me into the big room to look at the 30 different sit skis that they had just purchased, and that they're going to teach kids with disabilities to sit ski. It's great. I wish I'd had the chance when I was a kid to play adaptive sport. There in the back of the shed of all the sit skis, very back with mothballs and cobwebs on, were three-wheel recumbent hand cycles. I saw these hand cycles and I started to put 2 and 2 together, and I walked over without asking permission and I jumped up onto a hand cycle. For the first time in my life, at age 42, I'm up on this hand cycle and for the first time, I'm pedaling. I'm moving the wheel around. I'm watching the gears go around from above and not from the side. I'm moving this cycle for the first time, and I take it out of the shed and into the driveway and out to the road, and I come back, and Mary Ellen, who runs the sit ski program, said, "If you'd like to take the hand cycle home, very much." I get it out of the truck in front of my house, and we live on a 1-mile loop, and I get it out, and get it to sit down, I put the helmet on, and I'm starting to do the 1-mile loop in our neighborhood. Before I know it, my 2 younger children are on either side of me, and they're on their bikes, and they're laughing their heads off. And they're teaching me how to bike. And I'm crying my eyes out. I never thought I'd be able to do this. We do the 1-mile loop around the neighborhood. And there's my wife at the bottom of the driveway waiting for me to come around. And I thought she'd be proud, and I thought she'd be all excited, but my wife is tough as nails. There's no proud. She'd come around the neighborhood, and the kids are laughing, and I'm crying, and I get off, and I'm drenched with sweat after doing the 1 mile around the neighborhood. She goes, "Oh, good. John, I'm glad you came back." I said, "Where was I going?" She goes, "John, I'm glad you came back. I always wanted to take a little trip with you. She goes, John, you know how you can't go on my marathon runs or you can't go on my hiking escapades? I said, yes. She goes, I've always wanted to take a trip. Wouldn't it be great if we go for a small little bike trip? I just did 1 mile and I think, you know, maybe I could work up to 2, 3, 4. Sure, we'll pack a lunch, we'll go down by the river, that'd be great. She goes, no, I have something bigger in mind. She goes, John, and she takes out a map on it. No joke, she has this map in the back of her pocket. I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, John, I've always wanted to do the Erie Canal cycle path. I said, you mean the whole Erie Canal, like Buffalo to Albany? She goes, yeah, it's going to be great, no problem, we can do it, you can do it. I said, I can't do that. I said, on the thruway, it's like 250 miles. She goes, no, it's 350 miles. Don't worry, she says, it's all downhill. No, it's not. No, it's not. John, don't you tell everybody in your talks that they can overcome whatever obstacles in their mind? You listen to me, Andrea? You listen to me. Wouldn't it be a great way to show other people about the ability of people with disabilities? Here we are, 6 months later after she trained me. She trained me for 6 solid months. 1 mile became 2, 2 became 4, 4 became 8. And she mapped out a map that we would cross New York State in 2013. And then we would do 17 days. And we mapped out that we would meet developmental disability agencies around New York State each of those 17 days. And there we are. I'm on my hand cycle. My business colleague, Doug Hamlin, who's a quadriplegic, he broke his neck some 32 years ago in the backyard trampoline. Got married in the same summer. His boss kept his job open for him. He ended up owning and selling that company. Doug pulls me aside and said, John, I'd like to hand cycle across New York State with you. And so there we are leaving Buffalo, New York, all happy and excited to be on our way. We were invited to an event some 3 days down the road, and I was still struggling. I was struggling whether we were going to be able to make it. Maybe from over here. I was struggling whether we were going to make it across New York State. And 4 days into it, we were invited to see Ryan Chalmers, who won a gold medal in 2012 in London at the Paralympic Games. Ryan is there in the red T-shirt, and we're there to come celebrate Ryan's gold medal. But very quickly, we realized why we were crossing New York State. Because these 2 little boys came up to us at that event and they said to Doug Hamlin and I, they go, Mr. Hamlin and Mr. Robinson, when we grow up, can we ride our bikes across New York State too? And then you realize why you're there. We get to Albany some 17 days later. 17 days later, and I think I'm done and I'm excited to be over and I'm never going to get on the damn hand cycle again. Young boy named Luke, who lives in my community, has spina bifida. Luke pulled me aside, and at that time he was 17 years old. Luke pulls me aside and said, Mr. Robinson, can I talk to you for a minute? Yes, Luke. He goes, Mr. Robinson, he goes, I need to talk to you privately, and he pulls me off to the side. He said, Mr. Robinson, can I ask you a question that next year when you and Mr. Hamlin do this, can I join you for a day or 2? I said, Luke, are you talking to my wife, Andrea? We haven't for the past 5 years. By the way, we're done. I mean, we're done. Yeah, for this year. Actually, we were approached by 3 countries to do it. See, Joe knows, he's here. 3 countries to do this. One is here in Canada. We might do the canal system here. One is in Ireland and one in Scotland. So we're proud of the work that we've done. And I'll tell you what, we've learned the most about ourselves and who we are, but we could not do this without these 2 people. Pam and Andrea are our caregivers, our lovers, our friends, all at the same time. And we could not do that without them. And both Doug and I are beyond proud of that. We do it for this reason, that this is a group in Niagara Community Services for the Developmentally Disabled and Opportunities Unlimited, both serve the Niagara County area. And we know them well. And they come out and cheer us on every day. And then we in turn help them to find employment. And we work with them at T-Bank and KeyBank to employ people at each of those agencies, because that is ultimately what this is all about. You'll notice in the middle that there's one person in a three-piece in a suit there, in a tie and a suit coat. That's the elected politician that came out to see us that day. Like all elected politicians, he's under indictment right now, but don't worry about that. But like life, there's obstacles. Sometimes your obstacle is that you're 3 feet 9 and you're looking for a job. Sometimes your obstacle is that you have a developmental disability, but you still want to work. Sometimes the obstacle is that you ride a bicycle that's 1.5 inches off the ground and the grass hasn't been mowed yet, and you still have to get through it, because that's what we do. And sometimes the obstacles are more daunting than that, and you've got to get on your bike in life, you've got to make your way around that obstacle. It's no different than anybody in this room. Sometimes in this world it rains. Sometimes it's wet. Right? We know this. There aren't always sunny days in life. In this instance, this is great because do you know what the #1 population is in New York City along the Erie Canal? Some of you might think it's mosquitoes, maybe birds. No, it's geese. Geese are great. Geese are great except when it's wet and when it rains, and you're biking along through the mud, you're getting mud on your face, you're getting dirt on your face, you're also getting goose poop on your face. I can tell you, I know what goose poop tastes like. No human should know what goose poop tastes like. But it's the friends in life that get you through. And I mean the business associate friends, I mean your friends at home. It's the friends in life that can get you to look at yourself in the mirror and see what's great about yourself, that want you to get up and move along. And it's the next generation of friends that do that as well. And it's the organizations that you meet along the way that you become fast friends with after 5 years that you wouldn't want to be without ever. 5 years ago when we started the bike trip, we promised our 9-year-old son Owen at the time that Owen, if he would bicycle across New York State for 300 plus miles, that we promised we would stop at every ice cream shop. That was great until he actually asked us to stop for ice cream every 17 days, all 17 days. So Doug Hamlin and John Robinson are the only 2 people with physical disabilities and cycling 350 miles a year that gain 5 pounds every year. When you wake up tomorrow, I want you to see what's great about yourself. I want you to ask yourself what your best friend sees. I want you to think about the challenges that you have in your daily life and how can you turn them around. And I want you to do that because that is how we will help make this problem of employment for people with disabilities start to alleviate and lessen and create great opportunities for wonderful people. Thank you very much for listening.